The reason you're not rich has nothing to do with luck. Not because you didn't get the right opportunities. Not because you weren't born into the right family. Not because the economy screwed you over. You're not rich because you're following rules that were designed to keep you exactly where you are. Working until you're 70, spending every raise, living paycheck to paycheck with a nicer car in the driveway. The billionaires? They play by different rules entirely. Rules they'll never tell you about at some corporate seminar or on their Instagram feed. Because the moment everyone knows these rules, they stop working. It's like watching someone on a hamster wheel, running faster and faster, convinced that speed is the answer. Meanwhile, the wheel itself is the problem. People love to believe that wealth is about working harder. They see some guy pulling 60-hour weeks, grinding away at his job, trying to impress the boss. Maybe he's making $75,000 a year, decent salary. He thinks if he just works harder, puts in more hours, stays late, comes in early, eventually he'll break through. Eventually he'll be rich. Then they forget that trading time for money has a ceiling, a brutal, unforgiving ceiling. You only have 24 hours in a day. You can't work 25. At some point your body gives out. Your marriage falls apart. Your health collapses. And you're still making $75,000 a year, maybe $90,000 if you got really lucky with promotions. That's the cruel joke. Hard work is necessary, but it's not sufficient. It gets you to middle class. It keeps you employed, but it won't make you wealthy. Ever. The billionaires understood this early. I understood it when I was young, working my way up on Wall Street. You could see it clearly back then, and you can see it now if you're paying attention. People love to think that saving 10% of their income is financial discipline. Some guy making $60,000 a year saves $500 a month. He feels good about it, responsible, smart. He's doing what all the financial advisors tell him to do. Building his emergency fund, contributing to his 401k, being a good little saver. Then they forget that inflation eats that alive. Medical bills wipe it out. The car transmission blows, and suddenly that $6,000 he saved over a year is gone. One emergency room visit without good insurance and he's back to zero. The furnace dies in February and there goes another $4,000. That's the cruel joke. Saving is defense, not offense. It protects you from disaster. It doesn't make you rich. When I was young in New York, I saw men who saved every penny, lived frugally, did everything right. They retired with $200,000 or $300,000 if they were lucky, comfortable maybe, but not wealthy, not free. Still worried about money until the day they died. You think wealth is about accumulation, but it's actually about multiplication. The reason the gap between you and the billionaires is so brutal is simple. They own assets that multiply. You own a job that adds. You save $500 a month. That's $6,000 a year. Multiply that by 30 years, and you've got $180,000 before we even talk about returns. Maybe with compound interest, you push it to $400,000 or $500,000 if you're disciplined and the market cooperates. The billionaire puts $500,000 into an asset that returns 20% a year. That's $100,000 in year one without lifting a finger. Year two, if he reinvests, he's making $120,000. By year 5, that same $500,000 is throwing off $200,000 annually in passive returns. You're adding. He's multiplying. You're pushing a snowball uphill. He's watching it roll downhill, picking up mass and speed. But here's the paradox. You can't multiply what you don't have. You need chips on the table before you can play the game. And getting those first chips requires something most people can't stomach. It requires saying no to everything that feels normal. The first rule billionaires never say out loud: live like you're broke until you're not. I saw engineers making $120,000 a year living in houses they couldn't afford, driving cars that cost $60,000, taking vacations to Europe twice a year. They felt rich. They looked successful. Then you checked their bank account and they had $8,000 saved, maybe $30,000 in their 401k if they'd been working for 10 years. One layoff away from catastrophe. One medical emergency from bankruptcy. That's not wealth. That's a costume. The billionaire making $120,000 lives in a house that costs what someone making $60,000 would buy, drives a 10-year-old Honda, takes one vacation a year, looks boring, looks cheap, looks unsuccessful. But he's saving $50,000 a year. In 5 years, he's got $250,000 in cash. That $250,000 becomes the weapon. That's the difference between playing and watching. People love lifestyle inflation. It feels like success. You get a raise from $70,000 to $85,000, and immediately the nicer apartment seems reasonable. The luxury SUV seems justified. The designer clothes seem normal because your coworkers have them. Then they forget that lifestyle inflation is a trap that resets every time you earn more. You're always spending everything you make, just with nicer stuff. That's the trap. The more you earn, the more you spend, the more you need to earn to maintain it. You're on a treadmill that speeds up every year. The second rule: nobody gets rich on a salary. Salaries are designed to keep you working. They're designed to be just enough that you don't quit, but never enough that you're free. You're making $85,000 a year. After taxes, you take home maybe $62,000. After rent, car payment, insurance, groceries, utilities, student loans, you've got $1,500 a month left if you're disciplined. That's $18,000 a year you can save or invest. At that rate, even with perfect discipline and good returns, you're looking at 30 years to hit $1 million. You'll be 65 years old. Congratulations, you're financially comfortable right when your body is falling apart. The billionaire doesn't rely on salary. He builds equity. He owns pieces of businesses. He invests in assets that appreciate. His income comes from ownership, not hours worked. I saw doctors making $300,000 a year who were stressed, exhausted, trading every hour of their life for that income. They thought they were rich. Then they met someone who owned 3 small businesses throwing off $200,000 a year in profit, and that guy was playing golf on Wednesday afternoons. The doctor was rich in income. The business owner was rich in freedom. There's a difference. Don't misunderstand me. You need a salary to start. You need earned income to build the capital. But if that's all you ever have, you're limiting yourself to addition when the game is multiplication. The third rule: debt is a weapon, not a burden. People treat debt like a disease. They're terrified of it. They pay off their mortgage early, pay off their car loan, avoid credit cards like poison. The billionaire looks at debt and sees leverage. He sees opportunity. He sees a way to control $1,000 in assets with $200,000 in cash. Here's the difference. You take on debt to buy things that lose value. A $40,000 car that's worth $25,000 3 years later. A $500,000 house you live in that costs you $3,000 a month in mortgage, taxes, insurance, and maintenance. The billionaire takes on debt to buy things that gain value or produce income. He borrows $800,000 at 4% interest to buy a rental property that throws off $70,000 a year in net income. He's paying $32,000 in interest and collecting $70,000 in cash flow. That's $38,000 profit on borrowed money. You're using debt to consume. He's using debt to multiply. I saw young couples in their 30s with $50,000 in credit card debt from keeping up with their friends. New furniture, vacations, dinners out, subscriptions to everything. They were drowning. I saw a guy the same age with $500,000 in mortgages on 3 rental properties. People called him crazy, said he was over-leveraged. But those properties were covering their own debt and putting $2,000 a month in his pocket. In 10 years, the properties doubled in value and the debt stayed the same. One couple was using debt to look successful. One guy was using debt to become successful. That's what leverage looks like. And it's terrifying, which is why most people never use it. But here's the warning. Leverage is a weapon. Weapons can kill the person holding them if they don't know what they're doing. Billionaires use leverage carefully, strategically, on assets they understand. You use it to buy a boat and you're going to drown. The fourth rule: information is worthless without action. People love to learn. They read every investing book. They listen to every podcast. They can tell you about compound interest, dollar cost averaging. the efficient market hypothesis, real estate cap rates, every acronym in finance. Then they forget that knowledge without execution is just entertainment. It's mental masturbation. I saw a guy who could explain every Warren Buffett strategy, quote Charlie Munger, break down Benjamin Graham's principles. He'd spent 10 years studying investing. You know how much he had invested? $12,000. In a target date retirement fund. That's not an investor, that's a hobbyist. The billionaire has less knowledge but more scars. He makes decisions with incomplete information. He takes action when he's 70% sure, not 100% sure. He learns by doing, by failing, by trying again. The difference is motion. Most people study until they feel ready. They never feel ready, so they never move. The billionaire moves, adjusts, moves again. He's wrong half the time. But being wrong while moving beats being right while standing still. Here's the brutal truth. You don't need to know everything. You need to know enough to start. Then you learn from the market, from reality, from actual experience. I made my first significant investment in 1896. I didn't know what I was doing. I knew some things. I took a risk. I learned more from that one trade than from 6 months of reading. The fifth rule: surround yourself with people who make you uncomfortable. People love comfort. They want friends who think like them, who earn about the same, who share the same struggles. It feels supportive. It feels safe. Then they forget that you become the average of the people you spend time with. If all your friends make $60,000 a year, you'll make $60,000 a year. If all your friends think investing is risky, you'll think investing is risky. If all your friends buy new trucks when they get a raise, you'll buy a new truck when you get a raise. That's the trap. Your peer group sets your ceiling. They normalize your limitations. The billionaire deliberately surrounds himself with people who are richer, smarter, more successful. It's uncomfortable. He's the dumbest guy in the room, the poorest guy at the table. It's humbling. It's brutal on the ego, but it recalibrates what's normal. When you're around people casually discussing $10 million deals, your $100,000 goal stops seeming ambitious and starts seeming small. I saw a man making $45,000 a year who hung out with other guys making $40,000 to $50,000. They all thought $100,000 a year was rich, unattainable. They'd never met anyone making that much. I saw another man making $45,000 who joined a business group where the average member made $300,000. He felt poor. He felt stupid. But within 3 years, he was making $120,000. Within 7, he broke $200,000. What changed? His sense of what was possible. His peer group showed him a path. Don't fool yourself into thinking comfort is support. Comfort is stagnation. Growth happens at the edge of your capabilities, around people who make you feel behind. The sixth rule: optionality is the real wealth. People think wealth is about money. It's not. It's about options. You've got $8,000 in your checking account. That's not wealth. That's barely a buffer. You lose your job and you've got 2 months, maybe 3 if you're frugal. Your kid needs braces, your car needs a new transmission, and suddenly you're on a credit card, going backwards. You've got no options. You take the first job you can find. You accept less pay. You stay in a toxic workplace because you can't afford to leave. You say yes to things you hate because you have no choice. The billionaire has $5 million in liquid assets. He doesn't work unless he wants to. He says no to anything that doesn't interest him. He waits for the perfect opportunity. He takes risks because he can afford to fail. That's the difference. Not the money itself, but what the money allows you to do and not do. When I was advising presidents, I never took a salary. I didn't need one. That gave me freedom to tell the truth, to walk away if I disagreed, to operate without compromise. That's what capital buys: independence. People love to talk about financial freedom like it's some abstract concept. It's not. It's specific. It's the day you can say no without fear. The day you can walk away from anything that doesn't serve you. For most people, that day never comes. They're always 6 months away from disaster, always dependent on the next paycheck, always controlled by their need for income. That's not freedom. That's voluntary servitude. The seventh rule: timing is everything. and nobody can teach it. People want formulas. They want to know exactly when to buy, when to sell, when to jump, when to wait. The market doesn't work like that. Life doesn't work like that. I made my fortune in 1929 because I saw what everyone else refused to see. The market was overheated. Everyone was borrowing money to buy stocks. Shoeshine boys were giving stock tips. It was insane. I sold. I got out. People called me crazy, cowardly, stupid. Then the crash came. Fortunes evaporated. Men jumped out of windows. I was sitting on cash. I bought back in at 10 cents on the dollar. That's timing. But I can't teach you that. I can't give you a formula. It's instinct. It's experience. It's pattern recognition that only comes from years of paying attention. The billionaire develops this sense. He watches. He learns. He makes mistakes and remembers them. Over time, he starts to feel when something's off. When everyone's euphoric, he gets nervous. When everyone's panicking, he gets greedy. You can't learn that from a book. You can't get it from a course. You develop it by being in the game, by having skin in the game, by paying attention to reality instead of predictions. Here's the paradox. The best time to buy is when you're terrified. The best time to sell is when you feel invincible. But doing that requires going against every instinct, every emotion, every opinion around you. Most people can't do it. They buy when everyone's buying, sell when everyone's selling. They follow the crowd right off the cliff. The billionaire stands alone. He's comfortable being contrarian. He trusts his judgment over the consensus. That's not a rule you can follow. It's a muscle you build. Now here's the difference between you and the rich, and this is where it gets ugly. They have compounding time. You don't. Time is leverage. It's the most powerful weapon in finance, but it only works if you start early and stay consistent. They started at 25 with $50,000 and 35 years to compound. You're starting at 40 with $10,000 in 25 years. The math is brutal. Their $50,000 at 10% annual return becomes $1.4 million. Your $10,000 at the same return becomes $108,000. Even if you save more aggressively, even if you get better returns, you're fighting uphill because you lost 10 years. 10 years of compounding. 10 years of growth on growth on growth. Now compare that to someone who starts at 25, saves $500 a month for 10 years, then stops, never adds another dollar, just lets it compound for 30 years. They'll have more than someone who waits until 35 and saves $1,000 a month for 30 years. The early money had more time to multiply. That's what compounding time looks like, and it's why starting late is such a brutal disadvantage. But here's the worst part. You can't buy time. You can't borrow it. You can't steal it back. The only thing you can do is start now with whatever you have and stop wasting the years you have left. There's a moment in building wealth that feels almost supernatural. It's the day you realize your money is making more than you are. Until then, you're grinding. You're working 50-hour weeks. You're side hustling on weekends. You're cutting expenses, saving every dollar, investing every month. It's exhausting. It feels endless. You're trading your life for money and hoping it adds up to something. Then one year, you look at your statement and your investments made $65,000 while you earned $70,000 from your job. And you realize you've crossed the line. Your capital starts to pull its own weight. It becomes a partner. It whispers, "I've got this. You can slow down now." That shift is what changes your psychology forever. You stop seeing money as something you trade time for. You start seeing it as something that replicates itself, something that works while you sleep. For the first time, you're not a worker. You're an owner. But here's the warning. This is where people destroy themselves. They hit $500,000 or $1 million, and they think they've won. They get loose. They start spending. They buy the bigger house they've been denying themselves, the luxury car, the boat, the vacation home. They pull money out. They stop contributing. They break the compounding. I saw a man who built $800,000 over 15 years of discipline. Then he bought a $200,000 RV, a $150,000 summer house, upgraded his primary residence. Within 5 years, he was back to $400,000 in net worth and scrambling to rebuild. I saw a lawyer who saved aggressively until she hit 1.2 million, then she quit her job to pursue her passion without a plan. Her passion didn't make money. She started drawing down the principal. Within 7 years, she was back working, age 55, trying to catch up. I saw a couple who reached $600,000 and decided to live a little. They increased their lifestyle by $3,000 a month. That $36,000 a year came from stopping their contributions and taking distributions. The compound growth they killed was worth $500,000 over the next 20 years. That's the cruel truth. Building wealth requires discipline. Keeping it requires discipline. Growing it requires discipline. Screw up any of the three and you start over, and don't fool yourself. Starting over at 50 is 10 times harder than starting at 30. Your body can't work as hard. Your mind can't handle the stress. Your time horizon is compressed. The math works against you in ways that are almost impossible to overcome. The billionaires know this. They don't celebrate at the first milestone. They keep going. They treat the first million like the down payment on the second million. They understand that stopping is death. The seventh rule, the one I didn't mention because it's not really a rule, it's the foundation of everything. Nobody can want it for you. I've given you 7 rules, rules that billionaires follow but never say out loud, rules that work if you work them. But here's what I can't give you: the hunger, the discipline, the willingness to be uncomfortable for years. You either have it or you don't. And if you don't, nothing I say matters. The 7 rules billionaires never say out loud will destroy your excuses if you let them. I said it before and I'll say it again. The reason you're not rich isn't luck, it's choices. But it's brutal and unforgiving that you have to make those choices every single day for years before you see results. Nobody can get rich with zero capital. Nobody can get rich if they spend every raise. Nobody can save you if you prioritize looking successful over being successful. It's not about working harder at your job. It's not about saving 10% and hoping. It's not about waiting for the perfect opportunity. It's about discipline. Live below your means until you have capital. Build equity, not salary. Use debt strategically, not emotionally. Take action on incomplete information. Surround yourself with people who intimidate you. Build optionality, not just money. Develop timing through experience. Repeat until your money makes more than you do. Simple, brutal, unforgiving. If you can't do this, nobody can help you. If you can, you'll wake up one day and realize you're not working for money anymore. Money's working for you. People love to overcomplicate wealth. They want sophisticated strategies, complex investment vehicles, secret algorithms. They think rich people have access to some hidden knowledge, some exclusive deal flow, some insider advantage. The truth is simpler and harder. Rich people follow basic rules with inhuman consistency for decades. They say no when everyone says yes. They save when everyone spends. They invest when everyone's scared. They're patient when everyone's rushing. That's it. That's the secret. And it's available to anyone. But most won't do it. Most won't live in the small apartment when they can afford bigger. Most won't drive the used car when they can finance new. Most won't skip the vacation when their friends are posting from Cancun. Most won't invest in themselves when Netflix is easier. That's why most stay middle class, or worse. But if you have the discipline to delay gratification, the patience to compound for decades, and the courage to stand alone, you can make it. And when you do, you'll look back and realize the rules were always simple. Following them was the hard part. So here's the bottom line. Pick which side you're on. The side that follows the rules everyone knows and stays exactly where you are, or the side that follows the rules billionaires never say out loud and builds something that outlasts you. Because until you have capital that works harder than you do, you're not even in the game. And if you're not willing to sacrifice comfort for 5 to 10 years to build that capital, I can't help you. Nobody can.